Amazing, this area right here. At the beginning of the year was just a bunch of wood chips. The plan was to pretty much put everything in here that would be white, but not everything goes according to plan. A few pink things made it in there, but it's pretty much white for the most part. Taking down a chain link fence in my backyard. That thing right there, you know, I started to use a pick and a shovel. Richard and I did, and realized that wasn't going to work, so I went and got my backhoe on, and man, that thing was really buried. Well, I picked up this winch at Harbor Freight, and I'm going to see if it fits on this Kubota. The thing about this Kubota is it's of a year that has this plate already installed on it. It's supposed to be sort of a universal plate that has pre-drilled holes and so forth. So if that is a universal, winch, then we'll see if it just sort of fits on there. So I just tested to see if the mounting plate would fit, and if you look right here, this thing right here is the mounting plate, and you can see daylight through the holes. That's because it fits the pre-drilled holes on the RTV perfectly. So prior to like 2009 or so on these RTVs, you would have had to have purchased a separate mounting plate that would go right in here. But now, after like 2009 or something, if you have this plate right here in your RTV, it's pre-drilled. All right, and so this is the bracket right here, the mounting. This is the thing that came with the winch. I know it's kind of dark. So here's what I mean. This plate right here is what the RTV comes with nowadays, right? So I can just put the bolts up from underneath up through here, and have this thing right here, and it bolts right into the those bolts go straight up into the winch. All right, so I've got this thing installed. I've got it mounted, I should say. I still have to do the wiring on it. And I ran into an issue that the bolts that it came with, the mounting bolts that come up from underneath, were not long enough, and I had to go get some longer ones. I picked these guys up. And the other thing is that it's kind of a tight fit inside there. The left side over here goes up against a wall that's installed there, a plate. You can see this plate right here. So that thing, that the inside of the winch hits against that wall. I mean, it's literally touching that wall. And and I had to use a little rubber hammer just to get it in place, to line up those holes. So it wasn't really easy to get all those holes lined up just perfectly, but it works. The other thing I would recommend is this front carriage return thing. I don't know what you call that. It's touching right here, right? And the reason for that is the whole thing should be elevated about 1/4 of an inch. So what I would recommend, I didn't do it, and it was hard enough for me to get that thing in there, so I'm not going to do it at this point. But I would get like 3 or 4 washers and stack them when you put that bolt up through there. That'll just lift this up just enough to keep this from hitting the surface. The way I have it right now, it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. You don't have to use those washers, but if I were to do it again, that's what I would do. So now I have to start the wiring. If I open this up in here and look, yeah, you can see right there it's hitting against the against this plate. So I just hit it right there a couple of times with a rubber hammer to position it perfectly. So now I'm going to hook up this yellow and this blue cord. So this is Big Cottonwood Canyon. Just came up here for lunch. Ski resort's down this way. The road comes up this way. And the main road is down there, and then there's a little road that kind of comes up over here where I'm at. This is Guardsman Pass is what it's called. From these ski resorts here, you can go over to some other ski resorts over here called Park City. Well, we've got these peaches are all ready.
This tree looks like a jellyfish. This peach tree looks like a jellyfish.
It does.
It looks like a jelly or a cold jelly. It looks more like.
Also, these grapes. We've got few little grapes that came on these plants. This is the second season, second year. I planted these as oh, what do you call them? Just those little bare root plants. And I think this is the second year for them. So you know, wasn't really planning on getting much this year, and I didn't get much, but I got more than I thought I would get. So there's just a few plants that produced a few good clusters of grapes. Can't really do anything with them, not enough of them. So I think next year I'm going to prune them up really good. So that's just, you know, one good vine, two good vines maybe going up. Okay, I'm done. Got that thing installed. It's all wired up. You know, a lot of the wires were plenty long, and I didn't shorten them or anything like that. This goes to the little controller in the front, and then I also installed for the little remote thing that pulls in, this thing here. So I just plug the remote in there, and you can see it right down there in the corner right there where it's going in. And again here I just zip tied it right there. You know, I zip tied it so that, you know, the wires aren't going to be flopping around everywhere. And I just pretty much followed the instructions on this thing. It was pretty straightforward. So these this yellow and blue one goes down to the winch, and the red and black here go back to the battery. And then these little wires here go to the controllers. So it was very straightforward, and it works great. Well, I haven't tested it out on anything heavy, but it goes in and out. Yeah, so what I did was I made it so it shouldn't work on, see, it's not going to work unless the key is enabled. I think that might be enabled. Yeah. And I do have to, I am going to redo that thing. Right now it's just sort of, I've got a little Velcro thing that I'm going to stick it on up over there. But I'm going to mount that permanently into the dash. I've got to order a switch for it that matches the dash things. And I built this this thing right here that this little control box goes to. I welded a little L bracket. The L bracket screwed into this thing down here, right there, and then just comes out so that I have a nice place sort of in the middle that's out of the way that I can get to if I ever need to. Yeah. Tricky.
Yeah.
Oh, just cleaned it up a little bit.